everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So we had a very slow week in terms of sales in Halton Hills. I'm hoping it's due to the delayed reporting due to the long weekend, and next week we may have just a massive week, but let's see sort of how this washes out. So in Georgetown last week we had 10 sales. That's not majorly back for Georgetown. We've been seeing 11, 12 for the last month every single week. So we're almost on par with where we've been in Georgetown. So 10 sales, 16 new listings, which is lower than we've seen, but it's still more new listings than our sales. So we're just watching our inventory in Georgetown because it's still kind of at bay compared to where we've been. So the sales are keeping that going. If that starts to kind of scale back, we could be in a situation for inventory and pricing in Georgetown. Acton this week only had 2 sales. That's way down from the 9 they saw last week, but we only had 1 new listing in Acton. So at least low sales, but also low new listings, so inventory isn't going crazy. In Glen Williams, Limehouse, and the rural market, there was no sales and no new listings last week. So absolutely nothing happened in those markets. Looking at our properties that sort of are coming off the market and changing price, we had 12 of them last week that did some adjustments. So 7 of them came completely off of the market. So 7 people were like, nope, this isn't working, we're coming off. They may come back on in the future, but for this week they came off. 5 properties reduced their price. One of them is reduced significantly and are holding off offers, but 4 of them just had a straight up price reduction, not getting the activity or the traction that they want, so they're bringing their pricing backwards. When we start to see inventory go up, we usually see that number rise, so that's another number that I'm watching really closely. To only have really 5 properties going down in price this week is nothing to scream about. So looking at active inventory, 198 was our number last week, and it's our number this week, which is nice. We are staying right around that 200 mark. We haven't quite broken into it on a Tuesday report. We have on our Fridays, but not on our Tuesdays. So again, I take out any new builds. I just remove those. I remove vacant land and I remove farms. So technically when you search on MLS, there might be a bit more, but I kind of comb through to make sure I'm dealing with just resale, condo, and freehold properties. So we are at 198 active listings. It's remaining stable. We're not seeing it skyrocket, which is great. Once we get well into that 2s is when our market starts to sort of tank and it gets a little bit scary. Georgetown this week is up slightly from 106 to 109 active listings. So still a far way away from the 140 when our market was feeling super saturated, but we are getting into that hundreds, and majority of them are over that million price point. So that's going to start to feel really saturated soon. So looking at our price points, under 800,000 stayed the same this week at 11, and those properties are moving. Mostly the condo townhouses are moving. The condo apartments in the Sands and Chapel Street and stuff, those are not moving as rapidly, but we're still seeing a lot of movement under 800,000. 800 to $1 million is down slightly from 21 to 20 active listings. 20 active listings in this pocket is pretty high, but again, it's our price point that moves. So we see a lot come up, but we see a lot sell in that price point. So less of a concern. Where we get into concerning inventory numbers and where we're starting to see things creep up is that million plus. So 1 to 1.5 million is up from 36 to 38. So we're not super high, but we are definitely not low, but we are seeing sales. So we're kind of in this weird limbo in that price point because the inventory is sitting high, but when we get into the 50s, we've seen high 50s in that price point, it kind of dies. And so there's still movement in that price point. It hasn't skyrocketed yet. The price point that just is dead, and it's no surprise, is 1.5 million plus. We're up from 38 to 40 and virtually nothing is moving. I mean, that supports the Glen Williams, Limehouse, and rural market theory as well, because most of those properties are over 1.5 million as well. There are just not a lot of buyers at these interest rates that are willing to pull the trigger on these higher end properties. And so they're sitting, and a lot of the stuff that comes off the market is in that pocket too. But yeah, we keep just seeing listings hitting the market over 1.5, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are not going anywhere. Looking at our other areas, so Acton is down slightly from 31 to 30 active listings. That is still extremely, extremely high for Acton. Once we're 30 plus, it is like some of the highest inventory we've ever seen in that market. Majority of them are under $1 million. We did see quite a few price reductions in Acton this week because, you know, things just don't move as rapidly if they're not priced well in Acton. Glen Williams remained the same at 10 this week. Limehouse remained the same at 3, and the rural market is down slightly due to some terminations from 48 to 46. But still, again, 46 is like crazy, crazy high. So when we look at that 198 number, you know, when we were at that number last year, a large chunk of the inventory was sitting in Georgetown. Georgetown's inventory was much higher, and the rural market in Acton and Glen Williams were sitting a bit lower. Where we've sort of changed the balance here is that, I mean, Georgetown still is sitting high, but it's kind of really spread out, and we know that that market is where we see the sales. So where the balance has shifted is that those other markets are sitting very high with inventory, and so I don't think it's going to negatively impact Georgetown's pricing as much, but I do think inevitably we are going to start to see those bigger properties in the rural market coming down. We've already seen like reductions of hundreds of thousands of dollars on a bunch of them, and we are probably going to see things soften in Acton. There's a lot available under $1 million in Georgetown, and so Acton just needs to be more attractive. Like, people just will buy in Georgetown before they'll buy in Acton. So with 30 in Acton, they need to be really attractive for people to be pulling there versus Georgetown. So I think overall the market is still like okay. And I do hope, oh gosh, I hope that those interest rate drops that everyone is predicting start to happen, because that will bring buyers to the market. People's approvals will go up. You will be approved for more money. They'll have more buying power. So I'm really hopeful that on June the 5th, we see that, and that can like kind of refuel the market to maybe bring this inventory down. But time will tell, and we'll see next week if we have a big week because of the long weekend. So I will be back next Tuesday. Have a great week, everyone.